Yeah, when I saw Minago, I'm like, oh yeah, we're not even going to be able to touch her.
Praise Iomade, you woke up. Healing your wounds was easy, but you were unconscious for so long, I was starting to worry we'd lost you.
What happened?
We couldn't stand up to the demoness. Her spells were too strong. It's all right. We'll handle it somehow. You blacked out, but Staunton and I managed to get you here to the Defender's Heart. It used to be a tavern, but now it's our headquarters. We're gathering our forces here, and we're preparing to strike back.
I found a cultist dispatch in the dungeons. It seems they're holed up in the Tower of Estrad.
Demons have been filling Canabras with their spies and infiltrators for a long time. Unfortunately, I don't have enough people to attack the place right now. At least not blindly. I'd be grateful if you snuck in there and scouted out the situation. But just scouting. Don't be a hero.
What's the situation in the city?
Bad, but not hopeless. We're constantly getting news, and new sources of resistance keep springing up in the districts where everyone seemed to be dead. The survivors are gathering here. You should see them. Their faces, their eyes burning with determination. The city is destroyed, but our resistance is not broken. We will keep fighting.
What do you plan to do next?
You heard what the demon said. They're going to desecrate the Wardstone and blow up the whole barrier around the World Wound. That would be an even worse disaster than the World Wound's expansion before the Second Crusade. Not only Canabras, but every city with a Wardstone will be destroyed, including the capital. We can't allow that no matter what. We will retake it, even destroy it if we must. Iomade's gift must not become a weapon of the Abyss.
Can I help you in any way?
First of all, we need to decide what to do with the stone once we get it. What I'm about to say is classified. A traveler came to the city recently. A blind elf calling himself the Storyteller. He insisted he be allowed to examine the Wardstone, and he raised the alarm when his study was finished. Even before the demon attack, he had found some damage or flaw in the stone. Prelate Hulrune dismissed his words as nonsense, borderline blasphemy. But between you and me, the Prelate's opinion isn't worth much. I think the Storyteller knew what he was talking about. We could use his advice right now, if only we knew where he was. I remember the Storyteller spent a lot of time talking to Staunton, a dwarf from my unit. You saw him during the demon attack. The elf asked him about the history of the Crusades. Maybe the Storyteller told Staunton something about where we could find him if anything happened. There's another problem. After the attack, the demons began to gather their forces at the Grey Garrison. It'll be even harder to take them with a head-on assault. But I once heard soldiers talking about a secret entrance to the garrison. Trouble is, I have no idea where to look for it. While you explore the city, please keep your eyes open, in case you find something we can use. And one last thing. The Eagle Watch has lost a lot of soldiers recently. Some were killed, but others simply haven't been seen since the attack. In the chaos that is now Canabras, it's next to impossible to confirm anything for sure. One of the missing fighters is Janna Aldori, a new recruit in the Watch. She got along well with Sela, and she often went drinking with her. I honestly thought Sela and Janna had died together. But now Sela's returned with you, and there's no sign of Janna. If you learn anything of her whereabouts when you're out in the city, please report back.
Everything is clear.
May the goddess help you. We're still fighting, which means that Canabras still hasn't fallen. If you come across any groups in the city that can fight, send them here to the Defender's Heart. We'll need every fighter we can muster for the final assault. Yes, one more thing. If you're in the area, check out this address. It's our house. Mine and Anavia's. Well, it was our house. If the building is still standing, open the hidden compartment in the kitchen. It's filled with supplies for a rainy day. You can take whatever you find. You have more need of it.
Okay, we got a couple of things to do. Personal chest, hello? Ah, well... Oh gosh, I'm incredibly over-encumbered. I did not realize it was that bad. Oh well, anyway, I got some management to do. I'm gonna close that for a hot second. I want to talk to a couple of people. Hey, wait, mind if I bend your ear about something? Anavia is outside your door, leaning casually against the shelf. So here's the first and most important thing. Beth gave you a crucial mission. I get that. I know you'll get the job done. I saw you in action. Here's the rub. By sending you out on an errand, we're weakening our defenses here. If they come at us while you're gone, I don't know if we'll be able to fight them off.
Everything seems clear so far. What else do you wish to discuss?
So the rift that damn beetle left with his scythe? Well, it's cut the city in two, and it's kind of difficult to get across. My scouts tell me there's a halfway decent place to set up a crossing in Market Square. Not that any of them tried it to make sure. But if you've got a mind to go across, and I think you're going to have to eventually, you might want to give that square a once-over.
You want me to stay here and guard the tavern?
You? What? No, your task is far too important. You can't just hole up here all cozy-like waiting for demons to knock on the door. We need you to take the fight to them. But if those freaks try to make a move on this place, Beth will send a runner to you. If that happens, you like it back here, alright? Because if you don't, you'll be coming back to an ash pile. Got it?
When do you think the demons will attack next?
Your guess is as good as mine. It might not be here. They could attack the whole damn city. Those vermin know they've lost the upper hand, and that we're going to push back hard. If things kick off here, you should know, after they attack, some things could be changed beyond recognition. So if you've got any business that needs taking care of, you better do it soon.
Thank you for your warning. I'll see you later.
Later. Watch yourself out there. Well, I don't think she's joining the party. But Staunton? The dwarf resembles an abandoned citadel, one whose high crumbling walls are still holding fast, but whose empty lightless windows make it clear that all inside are dead.
Oh, it's you. Good work back there, in the Grey Garrison, named Staunton Vane. You've heard rumors about me.
His face, which looks like it's never known anything as carefree as a smile, grimaces.
Just so you know, everything people say about me, it's true. I need to talk to the elf who calls himself the Storyteller. Do you know where I can find him? The Storyteller,
Staunton strokes his beard in thought.
A strange fellow. That one, he used to sit with me for hours, asking all about all sorts of things. He never offered judgment or comfort, he just listened. At first, I wanted him and his questions as far away from me as possible. But later I realized that talking to him did ease my burden a little. I hope he's still alive and well. He's completely blind and feeble, too. So if he's alone in the city, well, you probably know what that means. I do know one place he might be. Look for him in the Black Wing. It's a library. Here, I'll show you where that is on the map. I don't know what use the library is to a blind elf, but he loved that place. He could sit there all day and night. What do people say about you? They say I'm a traitor as bad as Arilo Vorlesh, that I'm a disgrace and even among the ranks of the condemned. That Queen Galfrey should never have spared me, that I belong to the gallows.
Okay. A witch. Ah. So Vorlesh opened the world wound. Let's see. I'm just gonna... You know what? I'm gonna read it. Hardly any name arouses so much rage among the Crusaders as the name of Arilu Vorlesh, a Sarkorian witch who initiated the opening of the world wound and made it expand. Almost nothing is known about her life before the atrocity, except that Arilu was condemned for using arcane magic, which was persecuted in Sarkoris and imprisoned in the Tower of Threshold near the city of Iz. This is where Arilu conducted the ritual that paved the way for the demonic invasion and left her land to be tormented by the demon lord Descari. In some mysterious way, the witch transformed herself, turning from a regular human into a half-demon. Over the following century, Crusaders only encountered Arilu, or the results of her experiments, a few times, but learned nothing more of Descari's henchwoman. She holds a high position in the ranks of the Army of the Abyss, and holds the title of World Wound Architect. Condemned is a military unit made up of petty criminals conscripted as disposable soldiers. And Queen Galfrey is the absolute monarch of the Crusader state of Mendev, leader of the Mendevian Crusades. Okay, the rest of this I'm just going to let kind of go. Unfortunately, my mouse is in the way. I can't get around it, but is what it is. I guess I can just expand, but boy, that's a lot of lore.
Why do they hate you so much?
You really don't know. Staunton gives you a look, long, morose look, then sighs.
I'm the reason why the Crusade forces are holed up in the fortress on the edge of the world wound, instead of bringing the fight to the demons. We used to have a foothold in the wound, the mighty unassailable city of Drazen. We used to have it until it fell, all because of my stupidity. I gave the enemy our main citadel. I was tried. They wanted to execute me, and rightly so, but the Queen intervened. She said that I should live and fight in order to undo what I've done. So that's how I live, decade after decade, fighting in the condemned.
The dwarf shrugs.
As you can see, I've fixed nothing. I've earned no one's forgiveness. You're going to spit in my face, too. It wouldn't surprise me.
You can, in fact, spit in his face.
You keep living and fighting, with no hope of anything better, because that's what the Queen ordered you to do. There's honor in that. You may be right, but you know, even stone and iron get worn down over time. I know what it means to live a regimented life, but I cannot rely on my discipline alone forever. I played to Dorag. Though he does not listen, that my body breaks before my conscience does.
Torag, father of creation, dwarven god.
A whole city fell because of you. How is that possible? What do you mean, how?
The knight glares at you from beneath his furrowed brows.
If you don't trust a word of the condemned, go ask somebody else, like my little brother Joran. And if you still don't believe me, what is it to me? Well, if you were to ask me to recount the story of my disgrace for the thousandth time, don't. So you really don't have any friends? I couldn't have survived this long if I was completely alone. Joran, my little brother, he keeps me going. And he's never abandoned me. Everyone else shies away from me like they might catch what I've got. Even fighters in the condemned console themselves by thinking, I got stripped of my rank, but at least I'm not Staunton. Commander Terrorblade seems to be the only person in the whole army who remembers that I'm a soldier and not a drudge. She has no qualms about taking me into battle. She has some mud slung at her in the past, or so I hear. That's why she tries to keep an open mind about people. It's no surprise that she's the only one to hold on to her sense of reason in this farce. So many years in the condemned, surely you've paid your penance by now. It's not up to me to decide. My life's in the Queen's hands.
He falls silent for a moment, then in a trembling voice he adds,
The condemned isn't the worst part. All these years I've prayed to Torag for forgiveness. Countless times I've gone to his priest. Countless times I've kneeled before his altar. Only the father of dwarven kind would answer my prayers just once. Not to restore what I've lost, but just to tell me that I'm still one of his children. But it seems he doesn't give a damn about me. What can I expect from mere mortals when my own god doesn't think I deserve redemption?
Can I recruit this guy? I have to go.
Go on then. Maybe we'll see each other again.
I don't know, I feel like he'd be a good party member. Very solid, kind of sad. I don't know. A strange figure towers over the bar, a huge ungainly man with skin so milky white that his blue veins are visible even from a distance. His bald head is equal parts lumpy and pitted, and blood-filled eyes stare impassively out at you. From beneath his pale brows. The glass in the albino's large clumsy hands looks dangerously delicate, as if one twitch of those calloused fingers would be enough to crush it. A gold medallion engraved with a tankard gleams around his neck.
What'll it be? The medallion you're wearing. That's a sacred symbol, isn't it? Are you a cleric of Caden Kalian? I'm a Tavern Keeper, best in the city, best there has ever been, and I pray to the best god there is. Show me what you have.
Okay, bulk selling. I don't think this guy has a limited amount of money, which is great, because I have a whole bunch of things to sell. Can I just do shift click? Eh. I should probably pay attention a little bit, because there's some... Oh, wait, hold up. These are composites. Composites are good. I think. Info. Allows you to add your strength bonus to the 2 damage with this bow. Yeah, so that's going to be better than the Masterwork longbow. Ooh. Marching Terror. Whenever this +1 glaive lands a hit on an enemy for the first time, they receive negative damage. And everybody else could become frightened. Ooh, that's cool. Dueling sword, cold iron, quarterstaff, I can sell that. Masterwork heavy flail, I can probably sell that. Darts, not that helpful. Clubs, not that helpful. Yeah, I'm probably just gonna dump every masterwork. There's the Dwarven War Axe. It's good, but it's not cold iron. We're gonna be fighting a lot of demons, so I'm gonna try and prioritize that just a little bit. Okay, boy, there's a lot of management to be done here. I'm just gonna skip ahead. More people to talk to. Horgus!
Yeah, take this. It's 2,000 coins. Take your payment, and remember that Horgus Worm always keeps his word. You helped me back to the surface, and I duly paid you for escorting me. Now, speaking of our future cooperation, I have a job that would be perfect for someone like you. Naturally, I'll pay generously for your services. So, what does this job involve? You shall be my bodyguard, you see. I have good reason to return to my mansion here in Canabras. I still have, well, it doesn't matter. It's none of your business. My mansion is a breathtaking building with large garden in the wealthy part of the city. Even before the demons attacked, every thief and fraudster in the city had tried to get inside. One way or another, I shudder to imagine the state it's in now. I have little hope that my guards were able to hold the mansion during the attack, and I expect that the servants fled when they saw the demons. Only Abadar knows what's happened there since. Therefore, I would ask that you meet me at my mansion and guard me until I complete my business.
Abadar, god of cities, law, merchants, and wealth.
I already asked the local paladins for help, but they have no desire to set foot outside this tavern. Damn cowards and traitors, that's what they are. Also, please do not take Camellia with you. I trust that girl more than the rest of your gang. Do take her with you. I trust that girl more than the rest of your gang. She is of noble birth, after all.
Deal.
Marvelous, most excellent.
Horgus's face relaxes, smoothing a few of the tense lines.
I'll proceed to my mansion at once and wait for you there. Meanwhile, you needn't worry, I know this city like the back of my hand. But do hurry, unless you want me to lower your reward.
I don't really care too much about the reward, to be honest. Camellia! She looks you over pensively, toying with a snake-shaped bone amulet that dangles from her pale neck. Noticing your glance, she flashes you a cold, barely there smile. Greetings. It seems for a moment that the girl wants to say something, but the pause grows too long, and she slips back into cautious silence.
Tell me about yourself.
You want to know more about me than you already do? Why? I talk to the spirits of this tormented land, and they guide me in battle. I'll help you fight the demons, and I swear that you can rely on me in this matter. Isn't that sufficient?
Where'd you learn to wield a rapier so well?
I had good teachers, though they don't get all the credit. I am a most diligent student. Camellia licks her parched lips.
The amulet is quite unusual. Where did you get it?
Ah, my little trinket. It's so nice of you to notice, but I assure you, this amulet is nothing but a bauble. Can a lady not be drawn to beautiful, useless things? Anyway, as much as I enjoy our delightful conversations, the spirits are calling me, and I must respond. Please excuse me. Huh. Alright. Anavia, in her muted colors, blends in almost perfectly with the background. She appears relaxed, but her seemingly unfocused eyes are taking in everything around her, tracking and filtering potential threats. The only tell is the way she drums her fingers on her hip near her weapon sheath. She shows no sign of her injuries and confidently leans on her previously broken leg. She pretends to have just noticed you, even though she watched you approach from afar. Oh, hey! See how they patched me up? Now I can run, jump, or dance a jig if I feel like it.
Are there any suspicious places in the city that I should pay attention to?
There are a couple of spots I wanted to check out, but I didn't have the time. If there really is a den of cultists there, it'd be good for you to swoop in and bust some heads. You don't even need a search warrant. She shoots you a crooked smile. First one is the Silken Thread. It's a funny little tailor shop that doesn't take any orders and never buys any fabric, but they always seem oh so busy. They're busy with something in there, alright, but sewing it ain't. Second one is the alchemy shop, Topaz Solutions. They trade in everything, not just healing potions. Judging by the ingredients they've been buying in the black market, there's something fishy about the alchemical rituals going down in that place.
And tell me about yourself.
I'd be happy to, but there's nothing to tell. What's so interesting about me?
How'd you meet Irabeth?
I was bumming around Timon a while back, doing this and that. Desnan temples sometimes gave me odd jobs. You know, sometimes they needed people with skills like mine. On the surface, it was fine, I guess. After Nadal, the freedom of the River Kingdoms should have seemed like heaven. My chance to sit back and enjoy life, but I wasn't happy. There just wasn't any joy in my new life. I was all alone, no one cared about me. And I didn't care about anybody either. I struggled to find a reason to drag myself out of bed every morning. Tying a stone around my neck and jumping into the nearest river started to look pretty appealing. River Kingdoms. One day, I was hired to follow some fellas who the local authorities suspected were Razmiran spies. So it's, okay. I was stupid. I made a rookie mistake and they caught me. It's like my body had already decided to do what my mind had been fighting to finally put me out of my misery. Get someone else to kill me, since I didn't have the guts to do it myself. They grabbed me. I thought they got me on the spot, but instead they hogtied me and dragged me off. And like an animal going to the slaughter, my only thought was, let's get this over with. They brought me to their stinking cave, threw me on their altar, and I realized who it was. Kuthites from Nidal. They tracked me down after all those years, but I didn't care anymore. Wouldn't even have cared if they'd eaten me or whatever. We all gotta go sometime, right? So I was lying there, staring at those knives pointed at me, when fate rolled the dice and I hit the jackpot. Irabeth. There she was, storming into the cave. So the Midnight Lord, Dark Prince, Prince of Pain. I have to adjust my headphones every once in a while. Been really uncomfortable in the last couple weeks. Anyway, Irabeth. I don't know why I need to mouse over that in retrospect. Picture it. I'm lying on an altar with these knife-wielding maniacs all around me, and suddenly Irabeth storms in. I thought it was Iomade herself, fierce in her shining armor, with her gleaming sword raised. She made quick work of those scumbags, chopped them up just like that. I didn't even have the time to blink. She untied me, and then the girl's face lights up as she chuckles. She looked through the papers they had on the table and started swearing like a sailor. So much for Iomade. Ha! How did you and Irabeth end up in Canabras? After almost becoming a human sacrifice, I never wanted to leave Irabeth's side. Destin knows I fell for her instantly, and I fell hard. My misery was gone, and when Irabeth showed me what was in those papers, proof that the cultist had a nest in her home city, well, I offered to help without a second thought. Anavia smiles warmly. She must have figured I couldn't wait to get my revenge on those cultists, but I didn't give a damn about them. It was her. I'd go anywhere with her, even on a crusade, or into the jaws of a dragon. But I took to life in Canabras like a duck to water. I used to be an outcast wherever I went, but half the Crusaders are the same. After all, who'd volunteer to tangle with demons on the edge of the abyss? You gotta either be a goody two-shoes with too much honor and free time, or a misfit with no life out in the normal world with normal people. People here come to run from their debts, their past from themselves, so I fit right in. It's like living with Irabeth. Like living. Without her, I wouldn't be. Seriously, if I were alone, I'd definitely be gone now. Oh boy, this is a lot of dialogue. And honestly, they just have a lovely, cozy life. Cool. Thanks. Bye. Responsibilities? Okay. It's kind of the standard stuff. This is something I struggle with, especially why I wanted, voice acting. Because there's just so much dialogue in these. And we can easily spend an hour doing it. I guess it's not the end of the world. Dialogue is good. But often when it feels like kind of irrelevant details or just kind of cute stuff, I might just speed past a little bit. Leave it there so somebody can pause, but not dwell too long. I'll talk to Lon, though. He's been through some things. Here for a chat? I've been waiting for you to come and see what strange beast you've taken into your party. Ah, get out. I'd like to know more. I'd like to know more about you. Let me guess. Your first question is, can you wear a hat with that one horn? Am I right? Mongrels have short lifespans, but you don't look like you're getting old or dying. How old are you? Lon chuckles. I'm as old as I look. No surprises there, but remember Sol? He was 10 years older than me. I remember him back when he was a fearless warrior, and day by day I watched him turn into an old man. Him and my father. It happens very quickly. First you miss a shot because you don't see the target as clearly as you used to. You think it's because your eyes are tired. You tell yourself it'll get better tomorrow. Then you notice you're having trouble breathing. That climbing is harder than before. Lon clenches and unclenches his human fist. Your fingers stop bending. You have to tie your sword to your hand. Can't even put on your greaves without help. When you're washing your face in a stream, sometimes you catch sight of a gray-haired, wrinkled old man you don't recognize. And this goes on until one day you come across a cave beast and you realize you can't outrun it. My dad kept diaries marking all the signs, and I saw it too. Last year I had to help him get out of bed, help him dress, remind him to eat. Sometimes he forgot my name. I told him that we should have stayed on the surface, and he joked that dodging a goddess was behavior unworthy of a crusader. He meant Pharasma. Every morning I wake up to check how I feel, but there are no signs yet. Even so, I know I don't have much time. I need to do something useful before I forget why I came here. I want to talk to you about Wenduog. Are you sure? Alright.
Tell me about your connection with Wendewog.
My connection to Wendewog? I mean, where do I start? Lon turns the unexpressive reptile half of his face to you. We grew up together, trained together. She was the chief's daughter. She was groomed to be the best all her life. And then I came along. We were rivals. But we dragged each other out of tight spots, too. I've always been drawn to grand heroic gestures, sometimes idiotic ones, whereas Wendewog liked to roam unexplored passages, finding new caves and making maps. She wanted to be a great huntress, the one who'd make it through the shield maze, but instead it would have been better if she died. The death of a friend is painful, but watching a friend become a shadow of her former self is unbearable.
She doesn't think she's a shadow of her former self.
Of course, she thinks she did everything right, because the second she starts to doubt herself, she'll have to face the truth. To admit that she's just a cannibal the demons use as they wish. Lon's frown looks almost like a wince. She wants to get stronger and stronger, but for what? I'll never understand what drives her.
Were you friends or more than that?
Wow, you really don't pull punches, do you? Lon exhales loudly. There was a time when I asked myself the same question. Wendewog knew me better than anyone. She understood me better than anyone. She was the first girl I ever, but we never loved each other. Maybe I could have grown to love her. It always seemed like she never understood what love was. Maybe she just wasn't capable of those kinds of feelings.
Thanks. So, can you wear a hat with your one horn?
Sure I can, but certain designs don't suit me too well. He speaks in a deadly serious tone.
You speak common much better than your tribe.
Funnily enough, common isn't all that uncommon underground, but your observation is correct. I used to live on the surface with my parents for a while, and had a chance to learn a couple of things. The language, the fact that every peasant who sees my scaly mug screams demon and runs away. I don't know if you're interested, but my mom wasn't from the underground tribe. She was a smuggler, the kind that used the dungeons of Canabras to secretly move and store goods. One time, two gangs couldn't agree on how to share a prime cut, got into a fight, and the winners threw the losers down the hole, dead and living alike. My dad went to check if the corpses had anything useful on them and found a girl from the surface, barely clinging to life. An incredible feeling sparked between them, or maybe the girl just liked men with scales and a cat nose. That might be it. One way or another, he got her back on her feet, and later even left his home caves. She left her smuggling behind, and they began an honest life together. That's the delightful story of how old Lon came into the world. Next chapter, however, my family and I never stayed in one place for long. We lived sometimes on the surface, sometimes underground. Couldn't find a place to call home. Living in the caves was hard on my mom, and my dad's appearance raised too many questions in Mendev. They're at war with the demons, after all. In the end, my parents decided to stop making each other miserable and separated. My father and I returned to our tribe. I think the peasants' screaming demon had something to do with it. Or my dad just couldn't stand life without rat-tail soup. I couldn't rule out that possibility.
Did you come with me so you can see the surface again?
No, that wasn't it. I just don't have much patience for certain types of creatures. Demons, I mean. They want to destroy Canabras. I'll be on the side of the people they're attacking.
Lon, you're my companion, and my companions should trust each other. I'm counting on you to give me honest answers, not excuses.
Lon looks ashamed. I guess you're right. I shouldn't have been so evasive. It's just that some things are hard to talk about. My family, for example. My birth, hell take me, turned out to be a great misfortune for my parents, all because I'm relatively healthy. I'm the best thing that can come from a marriage between cave-dwelling mongrel and anyone from the surface. A healthy child with the right number of hands and feet. No apparent defects, no missing organs or other problems. They saw hope in me, so risked having more children. They thought I would somehow be alright. A growl edges into Lon's voice. I could have had 4 brothers. The first was born 2 years after me and died 3 years later. He didn't have a nose, nothing even remotely resembling one. He could only breathe through his mouth. Mom and Dad were afraid to take their eyes off of him, for fear he'd choke and suffocate on something. In the end, it was his weak heart that killed him. Then there was another pregnancy and birth. I pretended that I was sleeping, but snuck it out of my bedroom and listened under the door. All those hours, it was very strange, but I never heard the newborn screaming. Mom moaning, yes. The priest praying. When I dared open the door a little and looked inside, the priest stood there, very pale. One of them was holding something. A small object fit in his palm. He asked, "Do you know what this is?" And the other had said, "I think it's a head."
Enough. You don't have to keep going if it hurts you.
Hell no. I started to tell you and I'll make it to the end. You want to know why I followed you to the surface? Well, here's the reason. Lon pauses, exhales, and continues in a steadier voice. It turned out that this time Mom was expecting triplets. The first of babies was born in pieces. The other 2 didn't live long enough to draw their first breath. But 3 weeks later, my father took me to the caves. He didn't want to leave. I could see it in his face, but I think my mom and he decided it together. The curse my people have carried since the First Crusade stood between them, not to mention the 4 dead babies. Old age was rapidly taking its toll on my father. After we returned to the cave, he only lived in there 4 years. So if you're asking me why I decided to go up with you to the surface and join the Crusaders, well, my answer is I've always wanted to. I was afraid to leave my tribe, but it always haunted me that I'd die in a world where 4 crusades could do nothing to stop the beast from the abyss, and the number of victims kept growing. I wanted to change that, or at least try to. And if changing things is too much to ask, then get a little revenge. The ones who are behind the world wound owe me a great debt. The lives of 4 brothers, all my mother's tears, and my father's broken heart. It's a lot. It's so much that killing a couple of demons won't do it for me. I want to do something real, and I am ready to pay any price. Call it my personal crusade, if you like. Lon gives you a slanted grin. I used to think that things would be better if I'd never been born, but now I think I was born for this, to settle the score.
Would you like to find your mother?
No. The word flies from Lon's mouth faster than an arrow. Then, after a pause, he continues. I don't want to meet her. Not because I feel any resentment. It's just that she's a half-elf. She's barely got her first gray hair. I'll be a ramshackle old man. She's buried enough children. There's no need to make her witness the death of another one. I hope you understand.
I'm very sorry, truly.
Well then, I'm very lucky. I met someone who not only helps me choose the right path, but is happy to listen to my whining. Oh, this one's cute. I'm afraid that's a romance flag, though, so I'm going to avoid it.
Thanks for sharing, Lon.
Thanks for listening.
I found out everything I wanted to know. Thank you.
Sure thing. Oh gosh, there's still more. Okay, we're just gonna save earmark some of those for later. I don't mind the meet and greet, especially right now, but too much of it is going to drive me nuts. Pink Eye. Who is Pink Eye? Just listen to this woman. It's amazing how much nonsense can fit into such a small package. Oh, Indira. An imposing young Oread is surrounded by a group of crusaders who are hanging on to her every word. I hope this example clearly illustrates the difference between Jiska legionnaires from the last war and the crusaders. The perfection of form and spirit they were imbued with during creation turned them into parts of a well-balanced war machine. Not a ragtag bunch of individuals, but a united whole. Jiska Imperium, first human kingdom to establish itself. Cool. There's a lot here, but I'm gonna keep going. Now tell me again why I'm supposed to be impressed by your reckless assaults, where everyone is fighting for their ego and the right to beat their peers into a swift but pointless heroic sacrifice. One of the Crusaders grumbles unhappily, but it's clear that they're captivated by the woman's words. The only exception is a scraggly and disheveled halfling monk, whose puffy black eye gives him away as a brawler and a troublemaker. He enthusiastically pushes forward and tries to engage, but one of his friends swiftly jabs him in the back with an elbow, making the poor fellow pause to catch his breath. Listen to the discussion. One of the Crusaders angrily curls his fist tightly and retorts with a burst of aggression. If those gists of yours, or whatever, had come for us, we'd have their guts for garters. You'd think we'd never fought a mighty adversary before? The soldier's stern facade cannot fully conceal his relish. He clearly plans to enjoy this confrontation. The Crusaders around him look upon their exotic opponent with a mixture of irritation and piqued interest. The woman chuckles before cutting off her interlocutor. I would love to see you storm a 60-foot-tall walking castle shaped like a gigantic elephant that carries siege fortifications on its back. And I'll have you know that these fortifications were defended by Jiskin priest-craftsmen armed with demon-bound war machines. They used the enemies you cannot defeat as mindless weapons. The woman gives the people around her a triumphant look and adjusts her hair with pointed nonchalance. Her voice takes on a lecturer's note. You should not argue with someone who happens to be the most authoritative researcher on the history of warfare 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom. City of the center of the world. The woman looks at you and flashes an amused smile. Not aroused. That would be weird. The lecture is over. Do my esteemed listeners have any questions? Attack.
Who are you?
I'm Indira, warrior, magus, and scholar of classical warfare from Garund. Gosh, I am misreading left and right here, but it is what it is. The woman peers at you apprehensively and then sighs. I admit I'm mildly offended that the fact that my name is entirely unfamiliar to you, but I'm willing to accept this is due to Aveston's isolation from the sophisticated culture of the world at large.
Come a long way to be here.
I like to think of myself as an inhabitant of Golarion, and I don't narrowly identify with any country in particular.
Why did you come here?
To witness a legendary war, the confrontation between denizens of a plane famous for its love of violence and the Crusaders from every continent, united by the common goal of defending their home, an epic struggle of colossal proportions that hasn't been particularly epic so far, truth be told. The monk with a black eye grins and mutters under his breath, maybe she should just see it from here. Oh, she just can't see it from here. The view will get more epic if she stops hiding among us and takes a walk outside. The woman smirks contemptuously. She does not deem the monk's words worthy of comment.
I disagree. The Crusaders are doing a commendable job resisting the demons.
Oh yes, the situation we found ourselves in can attest to that. But then again, demons are no better. Their preferred strategy also involves brute strength, mindless assault, and unfounded confidence in their superiority.
Why don't you join the Crusaders and show them how fighting should be done?
No, I'm a historian and an analyst, a theorist. Do you know what these three words have in common? They describe a mortal woman who does not participate in the conflict upon which her thesis will be founded. But then again, I'll hardly be able to describe this mess as anything other than a feeble likeness of the last war of Jiska. The monk with the damaged eye grins slyly and comments, the more dangerous the upcoming struggle is, the more motivated we are to find clever and petty words to justify not actually doing the fighting.
What is this last war you mentioned?
Last war of Jiska, of course. A large-scale conflict took place 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom. It was a war against the Osirian pharaoh of the Forgotten Plagues. A war that ended the legendary Jiska Imperium, an epic struggle that became the most vibrant page in military history. Alas, all conflicts that followed were but a pale shadow, including the one I'm witnessing here.
Why do you find the last war of Jiska so inspiring?
Imagine legions of golems imbued with extraplanar spirits marching into battle. Imagine flying cities that swoop out of the clouds, like terrifying monstrous birds of prey to drop forces upon enemy castles. Picture gigantic mechanisms powered by captive and very angry demons and devils. Imagine standing in the warpath of walking citadels, having to cover your ears to block out the sound of cannons loaded with shrieking elementals. Finally, imagine the ultimate weapon that defeated the Jiska, the deadly night plague. This affliction was an attack dog, a trained epidemic, a tamed pestilence, striking only those that its master wanted to kill. Imagine all of these terrors and understand that no flight or fancy can even come close to the horror of the nightmares that made real.
How do you know so much about Jiska's last war?
I can say without false modesty that there is no more authoritative research on Golarion when it comes to the history and warfare 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom. I've dedicated my whole life to the subject. I've personally visited old battlefields and studied the most mysterious and forbidden archives containing chronicles of ancient wars, sometimes risking my life in the process. I saw a fallen sky city of the Shori Empire with my own eyes. I ripped out the control crystal from an exterminator-class combat golem that guarded a Jiska laboratory with my own hands. These fingers held the glass flask that the servants of the Pharaoh of Forgotten Plagues used to create the first generation of pestilence that devastated the Jiska Imperium. How do I know so much? I saw and touched everything that I'm telling you about.
You're wrong to treat the Crusaders with such disdain. Allow me to explain.
A debate, I'll be happy to prove the current conflict can't hold a... Very well, the last war of Jiska was waged using significantly greater numbers of troops. Both sides actively relied on reinforcements from allied planes, and their strategic planning was perfected through no fewer than 7,000 rounds of intensive design. None of the above applies to this war of yours. Well, my diplomacy is actually better. Compared to the Jiska, we are but stone club-wielding kobolds. I would like to conclude my thesis with a few words of wise counsel from Dagon, an advisor to the Pharaoh of the Forgotten Plagues. I doubt you will comprehend the true genius of his statement, but here it is nevertheless. A gadfly sees the ox pays no attention to the gadfly, but the crimson fever takes them both.
The events of the past are shrouded in legend, but the fate of the world is being decided here and now. That is what you fail to grasp.
Indira's panache encouraged her to backtrack and stumble. Oh, wait, no. The earnestness of the faces of those around you has taken away Indira's panache, encouraging her to backtrack and stumble over her words. Of course, I'm not trying to diminish the importance of current events. What I'm trying to say is that from the standpoint of history, and particularly the history of warfare, she falls silent, staring fixedly at the unfriendly eyes of her audience. The true importance of these developments won't become obvious until later. Indira offers a pretentious dismissal. As a scholar, I cannot deny that there is a certain truth beneath your skeptical statements. History is complex and... I cannot word while doing this voice. History is a complex discipline rooted in fact, an evidentiary base that grows ever more meager the farther the described period is from the present moment. Of course, if I were to argue in bad faith, the way Crusaders embellish their tales of slaying a single Brimarack by adding a dozen Baelors, for example, I could win this debate, but I'm above such things, and therefore I am forced to admit that your skepticism is not entirely without merit.
Have you changed your mind about joining the Crusaders?
I don't see the point. Your Crusaders appear to be quite confident in your skills. Nothing else, you've presented your arguments to me with extreme confidence. Indira unbuckles her sword belt and hands it to you. This is a worthy blade. It'll be of use not only to the strong, but also for the wise. And this is where I bid you farewell. Before the end of the day, I was planning to observe how winged demons use pack tactics to drive their prey like herds of livestock. It's about time I get back to my research. The hint of a smile graces Indira's lips when she sees the disappointment in the eyes of the many Crusaders around her. Stay safe. I mean, she can cast Dimension Door. That's something. What about the sword, though, that she just gave us? Oh, shit. That's actually a good short sword. Because it's a +1 flaming short sword. Oh, but cannot be equipped. I'd give it to her, but we'll find somebody else. Okay. Well, back to talking to every single person. Oh, we can't talk to Pink Eye.